Imagine you're sitting in your cozy living room, flipping through the local newspaper, when a strange advertisement catches your eye. A murder is announced and will take place on Friday, October 29th, at Little Paddocks at 6:30 p.m. Friends. Please accept this, the only intimation. Your heart skips a beat. Is this a joke, a game, or something far more sinister? You can't resist the pull of curiosity, so you show up at the address, only to find yourself in a room full of strangers. The lights go out, and a gunshot echoes in the dark. This is no game, this is the chilling setup of Agatha Christie's. A murder is announced, where a clever killer's plot unravels under the watchful eye of the legendary detective, Hercule Poirot. Today, we're diving into the twists, turns, and brilliant deductions that make this mystery one of Christie's finest. So, grab a cup of tea, settle in, and let's uncover the murder plot Poirot foiled without spoiling the ending just yet. Trust me, you'll want to stick around for this one. Let's start where it all begins, a sleepy English village called Chipping Cleghorn, where nothing exciting ever happens until a bizarre notice appears in the local gazette. The ad, as I mentioned, announces a murder at Little Paddocks, the home of Miss Letitia Blacklock, a respectable, no-nonsense woman. Now, picture this, it's 1950, post-war England, and people are craving a bit of fun. So, when the villagers read this strange invitation, they assume it's a quirky murder mystery party. Who wouldn't want to play along? Neighbours like Mrs. Swettenham and Colonel Easterbrook show up at Little Paddocks, expecting a light-hearted game. But here's where things get creepy. Miss Blacklock herself claims she has no idea who placed the ad. That's right, the host of this so-called murder party is as clueless as her guests. Can you imagine the unease creeping into the room? Everyone's laughing nervously. But there's a question hanging in the air. Who's behind this? And what do they want? As the clock ticks closer to 6:30 p.m., the tension builds. The guests are chatting, trying to keep things normal. But you can feel the undercurrent of suspicion. Agatha Christie is a master at setting up these moments. She makes you feel like you're right there, glancing at the other guests, wondering who's hiding something. Then, bang, the lights go out, a figure appears in the doorway, and a gunshot rings out. I won't spoil who gets hurt or what happens next, but let's just say the game takes a deadly turn. This opening scene is pure Christie genius. It hooks you with curiosity and keeps you guessing. Why would someone announce a murder in advance? Is it a prank gone wrong, or is there a darker plan at play? Now, this is where Hercule Poirot comes in well, almost. In a murder is announced, Poirot doesn't appear right away, but his presence looms large as the mystery deepens. Instead, we follow Miss Marple, Christie's other iconic detective, who happens to be visiting Chipping Cleghorn. She's no stranger to human nature, and her knack for noticing tiny details like a nervous glance or an out-of-place comment sets the stage for unraveling the plot. For this video, though, we're imagining Poirot stepping into Miss Marple's shoes, using his famous little grey cells to crack the case. Why? Because Poirot's methodical, almost theatrical style makes him the perfect lens to explore this twisted tale. In the next chapter, we'll dive into the cast of characters at Little Paddocks, who they are, what secrets they're hiding, and why one of them might just be a killer. Stay tuned. And if you're loving this mystery so far, hit that like button and subscribe for more. Welcome back to our deep dive into Agatha Christie's A Murder is Announced, where a chilling newspaper ad has just turned a quiet evening in Chipping Cleghorn into a deadly puzzle. If you missed Chapter 1, we set the stage with that eerie announcement about a murder at Little Paddocks, the home of Miss Letitia Blacklock. The lights went out, a shot was fired, and now the cozy village is buzzing with suspicion. If you're just joining us, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single twist in this gripping mystery. Today, we're zooming in on the colourful cast of characters gathered at Little Paddocks that fateful evening. Each one has a story, a secret, and maybe even a motive. Let's imagine Hercule Poirot, with his sharp mind and impeccable moustache, stepping into this tangled web to figure out who's hiding what, ready to meet our suspects. Let's dive in. Picture Little Paddocks, a charming but slightly worn country house filled with a mix of friends, neighbours, and unexpected guests, all drawn by that bizarre ad. First up is Miss Letitia Blacklock herself, the lady of the house. She's in her 60s, poised, practical, and the kind of person who keeps things together even when chaos erupts. But here's the thing, she swears she didn't place the ad, which makes you wonder, why is someone targeting her home? Could she be hiding something behind that calm exterior? Poirot would notice the way she grips her teacup just a bit too tightly, a clue that she's not as unruffled as she seems. Then there's Dora Bunner, or Bunny, Letitia's old school friend who lives with her. Bunny's sweet but scatterbrained, always rambling about the past. She seems harmless, but her nervous chatter might be covering up a deeper truth. Poirot's little grey cells would be buzzing, wondering if Bunny knows more than she lets on. Next, we've got the younger crowd. Philippa Hames, a quiet, elegant widow who works as a gardener to make ends meet. She's reserved, almost too reserved, and you can't help but feel she's holding back a piece of her story. Could her past hold a clue to the crime? Then there's Patrick and Julia Simmons, Letitia's distant cousins who've recently moved in. They're lively, charming, and a bit too carefree for a house where a murder was just announced. Patrick's got a roguish grin, and Julia's sharp wit makes her stand out. But their easygoing vibe feels almost calculated. Are they really just carefree youngsters? Or is there something more sinister beneath the surface? Poirot would be watching their quick glances, noting how they seem to finish each other's sentences a little too perfectly. Let's not forget the neighbours who showed up for the game. Colonel Archie Easterbrook and his wife, Laura, are the kind of proper English couple you'd expect in a village like this. The Colonel's all about military precision, but his wife's nervous giggles hint at unease. Then there's Mrs. Swettenham and her son, Edmund, an aspiring writer who's a bit too smug for his own good. They're nosy, eager to be part of the drama, but are they just curious, or do they have their own agenda? And don't overlook Miss Hinchcliffe and Miss Murgatroyd, to no-nonsense friends who live together and seem fiercely loyal to each other. Their blunt honesty is refreshing, but Poirot would wonder if their tough exterior hides a secret motive. Finally, there's Mitzi, the jumpy, melodramatic maid from Central Europe. Who's quick to scream about danger? Is she just paranoid? Or does she know something the others don't? What makes this cast so fascinating is how ordinary they seem on the surface. Agatha Christie has this knack for creating characters who feel like people you'd meet in real life, your neighbour, your aunt, your co-worker, but then she peels back the layers to reveal hidden depths. In A Murder is Announced, everyone's got a reason to be at Little Paddocks, but no one's quite what they seem. Poirot, if he were here, would be observing every detail, the way Philippa avoids eye contact, the way Patrick's jokes feel forced, or how Mitzi's hands tremble when she serves tea. He'd know that in a Christie mystery, motives are often tied to money, love, or revenge. And this group has plenty of all three. Was the ad meant to scare someone specific? Was the gunshot an accident or part of a bigger plan? Without giving too much away, let's just say the events of that night leave everyone pointing fingers. And Poirot's job would be to sort through the lies. To keep you hooked. Think about this. What if one of these people isn't who they claim to be? Identity is a big theme in this story, and Christie loves to play with disguises and deception. As we move forward, we'll see how Poirot starts to unravel these character secrets. using his famous logic to spot the cracks in their stories. For now, picture him twirling his mustache, sizing up this motley crew and asking himself, who had the most to gain from that gunshot in the dark? In our next chapter, we'll dig into the crime scene itself, those critical moments when the lights went out and the murder plot kicked into high gear. What clues did the killer leave behind? And how does Poirot start to piece it all together? You won't want to miss it. So make sure you're subscribed and leave a comment below. Who do you think is the most suspicious character so far? Let's keep the mystery alive. The air in Little Paddocks is thick with shock. The lights went out, a gunshot pierced the silence, and now the guests are frozen, their eyes darting around the darkened room. The so-called murder game has taken a terrifying turn, and what was supposed to be a bit of village fun has left everyone reeling. If Hercule Poirot were here, he'd be calmly stepping into the chaos, his sharp eyes scanning every detail of the crime scene, his little grey cells already at work. In this chapter, we're diving into those critical moments after the shot was fired, piecing together the clues left behind, and exploring how Poirot would start to untangle this deadly puzzle. The question on everyone's mind is, was this an accident, a prank gone wrong, or the first step in a carefully planned murder? Let's step into the crime scene and find out. The moment the lights go out at 6:30 p.m., as promised by that eerie newspaper ad, the room plunges into confusion. Picture it, a cozy drawing room filled with nervous laughter, the clink of teacups, and then darkness. A figure appears in the doorway, a flashlight blinds the guests, and a voice shouts something ominous. Before anyone can react, a gun goes off. When the lights flicker back on, the scene is chaos. I won't spoil who's hurt or how, but let's just say the game has left a mark literally. The guests are stumbling over each other, some screaming, others frozen in place. Miss Blacklock, the composed hostess, is trying to take charge, but even she's shaken. The question Poirot would ask is, what just happened and why? Was the gunshot random, or was it aimed at someone specific? The answer lies in the tiny details scattered around the room, and Poirot's genius is in spotting what everyone else overlooks. Let's break down the crime scene as Poirot would. First, there's the physical evidence. The gun, a revolver, is found on the floor, still warm from being fired. It's not some fancy weapon, just a standard piece that could belong to anyone in a post-war village, where old military gear isn't hard to come by. But Poirot would notice where it's lying, near the doorway, not in the middle of the room. Why does that matter? It suggests the shooter didn't just drop it in a panic, they placed it. Or maybe they were standing somewhere specific when they fired. Then there's the bullet itself. Without giving too much away, let's say it leaves a mark somewhere in the room, a mark that doesn't quite add up with the story everyone's telling. Poirot would crouch down, adjust his pince nez, and study the bullet hole with a frown. Is it too high? Too low? Did it hit its intended target? Or was it meant to miss? These are the questions that would spark his curiosity. Now, let's talk about the room itself. Little Paddocks is a typical English country house with heavy curtains, a fireplace, and furniture that's seen better days. The lights went out because of a power cut, or so it seems. Poirot, ever suspicious, would check the fuse box. Was it tampered with, or was it just bad luck? He'd also notice the layout, the doorway where the mysterious figure appeared, the chairs where the guests were sitting, the table with half-empty teacups. Every detail matters. For example, where was Miss Blacklock standing when the shot was fired? Was she near the door or closer to the fireplace? And what about Bunny, her scatterbrained friend? Was she really fumbling with her knitting? Or was she watching someone closely? Poirot would be sketching a mental map of the room, placing each suspect exactly where they were when the lights went out. He'd know that in a Christie mystery, position is everything. Someone's alibi might hinge on whether they were near the door or the window. Then there's the human element, the guests' reactions. Colonel Easterbrook is barking orders, trying to take control like he's back on the battlefield. But his wife, Laura, is trembling, her eyes wide with fear. Patrick and Julia, the young cousins, are trying to laugh it off, but their jokes sound hollow. Philippa Hames, the quiet widow, is silent, her face pale, as if she's seen a ghost. Miss Hinchcliffe is grumbling about the damn fool stunt, while Miss Murgatroyd clings to her arm, whispering nervously. And Mitzi, the maid, is practically hysterical, shouting about danger and conspiracies. Poirot would watch them all, noting who's to calm, who's to frantic, and who's avoiding his gaze. He'd know that panic can be an act and calmness, can hide guilt. One of these people, he'd think, knows more than they're letting on. But who? What makes this scene so gripping is how Agatha Christie builds the suspense. She doesn't just throw a crime at you, she layers it with questions. Why was the ad placed in the newspaper? Who knew the lights would go out? And why did the shooter vanish so quickly? Poirot would start forming theories, but he'd be careful not to jump to conclusions. He'd think about motive, money, revenge, or maybe fear of a secret being exposed. In a murder is announced, the past looms large old. Relationships, hidden identities, and long-buried grudges. Poirot would suspect that the answer to this crime lies not just in the room, but in the histories of the people standing in it. Was the gunshot meant to kill, to warn, or to distract? And how does that strange ad tie into it all, as Poirot sifts? Through the clues, he'd also consider the timing. The ad specified 6:30 p.m., and the shot happened right on cue. That's no coincidence, it's a plan. Someone orchestrated this moment, and Poirot would be determined to find out why. He'd question the guests, not aggressively, but with that polite, probing style that makes people squirm. Madam, he might say to Miss Blacklock, "You are certain you knew nothing of this advertisement?" Her answer, calm but careful, would only deepen his suspicions. He'd turn to Mitzi next, asking about the fuse box, and her wild gestures might reveal more than she intends. Every conversation is a chess move, and Poirot is always 3 steps ahead. For us, as viewers of this mystery, the crime scene is where the story grabs us. It's not just about the gunshot, it's about the chaos, the fear, and the nagging sense that nothing is what it seems. Christie's genius is in making you feel like you're part of the investigation, second-guessing every detail. Was the shooter an outsider, or was it one of the guests? Is the ad a red herring, or the key to everything? Poirot would tell us to focus on the facts, the gun, the bullet, the timing, the people. But he'd also remind us that human nature, greed, jealousy, betrayal is at the heart of every crime. In the next chapter, we'll follow Poirot as he starts digging into the past of these suspects, uncovering secrets that might just point to the killer. Who has a hidden connection to Miss Blacklock? And what ghosts from the past are haunting? Little Paddocks, stick around and drop a comment below. What clue do you think Poirot will chase next? Hit that like button and subscribe to keep unraveling this mystery with us. The dust has settled at Little Paddocks, but the echoes of that gunshot still linger in the air. The guests are shaken, the police are on the scene, and questions are piling up faster than answers. If Hercule Poirot were here, he'd be sitting quietly in a corner, his sharp eyes darting from face to face, piecing together the puzzle. The crime scene has given him plenty to work with: the gun, the bullet hole, the suspicious timing of the lights going out, but Poirot knows the real answers lie deeper, in the shadows of the past. In this chapter, we're following Poirot as he starts digging into the histories of the suspects at Little Paddocks. Who are these people really? What secrets are they hiding? And how might an old grudge or a hidden connection Point to the mastermind behind that chilling newspaper ad. Let's step into Poirot's world and uncover the ghosts haunting Chipping Cleghorn. Poirot's method is simple but brilliant. He listens, he observes, and he asks questions that seem innocent but cut straight to the heart. He knows that in a village like Chipping Cleghorn, where everyone knows everyone's business, or so they think, secrets have a way of bubbling up. The gunshot wasn't random, and that ad in the Gazette wasn't a prank. Someone in this house has a motive, and Poirot suspects it's tied to something from years ago. Let's start with Miss Letitia Blacklock, the poised hostess who claims she's as baffled as everyone else. Poirot would be intrigued by her calm demeanor. She's the center of this drama house. Her party, so why does she seem so unshaken? He'd start asking about her past, gently probing. Letitia worked for years as a secretary to a wealthy financier named Hercule Goedler. That's interesting, Poirot would think. Money always leaves a trail. Did Letitia inherit something from Goedler, or does someone think she did? Poirot would note the flicker in her eyes when Goedler's name comes up, a clue that her past holds more than she's letting on. Then there's Dora Bunner, or Bunny, Letitia's fluttery friend. Bunny's always reminiscing about their school days, but her stories are vague, almost rehearsed. Poirot would find her endearing but suspicious. Why does she live with Letitia? Is it just loyalty? Or is there something binding them together, a shared secret, perhaps? He'd ask Bunny about those old days, watching her stumble over details. Her nervousness could be innocent, but Poirot would wonder if she's protecting someone or something. What if Bunny knows why that ad was placed? What if she's not as clueless as she seems? Poirot's little grey cells would be working overtime, piecing together her scattered comments like a jigsaw puzzle. Now, let's turn to the younger suspects. Patrick and Julius Simmons, the charming cousins, claim they're just visiting Letitia for a bit of fun. But Poirot would dig deeper. Where? Were they before Chipping Cleghorn? Patrick says he's been knocking about after the war, and Julius studying to be a pharmacist, smart, but cagey about her past. Poirot would notice how they deflect questions with jokes, or quick subject changes. Are they really Letitia's cousins, or is their connection to her shakier than they admit? In a Christie mystery, family ties are often a cover for something darker, and Poirot would be sniffing out any hint of deception. He'd ask about their parents, their travels, their reasons for staying at Little Paddocks. A casual remark from Julia about old family stories might catch his ear. Does she know something about Letitia's past? That could explain the ad. Philippa Hames, the quiet widow, is another puzzle. She's elegant but guarded, working as a gardener to support her young son. Poirot will be drawn to her reserved people who say little often know a lot. Her husband died in the war, she says, leaving her struggling. But is her story as simple as it sounds? Poirot would wonder if Philippa's connected to someone else in the room, maybe through her late husband or her work. He'd ask about her life before Chipping Cleghorn, noting how she avoids details. A widow with a child is sympathetic, but Poirot knows sympathy can be a mask. Could Philippa have a motive tied to money or revenge? Her pale face after the gunshot suggests fear, but fear of what? Being caught? Or being the next target? The neighbors add more layers to the mystery. Colonel Easterbrook and his wife, Laura, are pillars of the village, but Poirot would sense cracks in their perfect image. The Colonel's military stories feel a bit too polished, and Laura's nervous chatter betrays unease. Did they know Hercule Poirot, Letitia's old employer? Or does their interest in Little Paddocks go beyond neighbourly curiosity? Mrs. Swettenham and her son, Edmund, are equally intriguing. Edmund's intellectual arrogance annoys Poirot, who'd see through his smugness to the insecurity beneath. Mrs. Swettenham's nosiness might seem harmless, but Poirot would wonder if she's fishing for information. And then there's Miss Hinchcliffe and Miss Murgatroyd, the tough, practical duo. Their loyalty to each other is clear, but Poirot would ask, are they protecting someone else? Their blunt honesty could be a front for a deeper secret. Mitzi, the melodramatic maid, is a wild card. Her wild accusations and tearful outbursts make her easy to dismiss. But Poirot never ignores anyone. Her stories about fleeing war-torn Europe are dramatic, but are they true? Poirot would ask her about the night of the ad, watching her closely. Did she see someone near the fuse box? Did she overhear a conversation? Her fear seems genuine, but Poirot would wonder if it's an act to deflect suspicion. In a Christie mystery, even the smallest players can hold big clues. And Mitzi's hysterics might hide a truth she's too scared to reveal. What ties all these suspects together? Is the past old friendships, old jobs, old promises? Poirot would suspect that the ad and the gunshot are linked to something long buried, maybe from before the war. Money is a likely motive. Randall Goedler's fortune keeps coming up in whispers, but so is betrayal. Did someone at Little Paddocks double-cross another? Is the ad a way to flush out a secret, or to scare someone into silence? Poirot would start connecting the dots. Using his knack for seeing patterns, he'd think about inheritance, about who stands to gain if someone else loses. He'd also consider identity. Christie loves to play with mistaken identities, and Poirot would be on high alert for anyone who might not be who they claim. As he digs, Poirot would keep his cards close, asking questions that seem polite, but make the suspect squirm. To Letitia, Mademoiselle, this Randall Goedler, he was a man of great wealth, non? To Patrick, you have travelled much, monsieur, but where were you, say, 5 years ago? Each question is a probe, testing for lies. The suspect's reactions, Letitia's tight smile, Patrick's quick laugh. Philippa's silence would give him more to work with than their words. By now, Poirot would know the crime isn't just about the gunshot. It's about why someone wanted that moment of chaos, why they needed all eyes on Little Paddocks. The ad, he'd realize, was a spotlight, but on whom? This is where Christie's brilliance shines. She weaves a web where everyone's connected, but the threads are hidden. Poirot's job is to pull those threads one by one until the truth unravels. In the next chapter, we'll follow him as he zeroes in on the clues that don't add up, the little inconsistencies in the suspect's stories, the objects out of place, the lies that slip through the cracks. What's the one detail that could break the case wide open, and how close is Poirot to spotting it? Drop a comment below. Which suspect's past do you think holds the key to this mystery? Hit that like button and subscribe to keep unraveling the plot with us. Hercule Poirot's mustache twitches as he stands in the drawing room of Little Paddocks, his eyes scanning the scene of the crime. The gunshot, the mysterious ad, the shaken guests, it's all starting to form a picture in his brilliant mind. But some pieces don't quite fit. The suspect's stories are laced with half-truths, and the clues scattered around the house are whispering secrets, if only you know where to look. In this chapter, we're diving into the inconsistencies that catch Poirot's attention, those tiny details that seem unimportant but could unravel the entire murder plot. From a misplaced object to a slip of the tongue, these are the cracks in the killer's plan that Poirot is starting to exploit. Let's follow his investigation and see how he begins to tighten the net around the truth, all while keeping us guessing about who's behind that chilling night at Little Paddocks. Poirot knows that a crime scene is like a book, and every detail is a word in the story. The revolver on the floor, the bullet hole in the wall, the timing of the lights going out, these are the big letters, but it's the small ones that intrigue him most. Let's start with the ad itself. That notice in the Chipping Cleghorn Gazette wasn't just a prank, it was a calculated move. Poirot would ask, who had access to the newspaper office? Who could place an ad without raising suspicion? He'd visit the Gazette's editor, a chatty fellow who might let slip that the ad was paid for in cash with no name attached. That suspicious non a prankster might boast, but a killer stays anonymous. Poirot would file that away, knowing the ad's purpose, whether to scare, to distract, or to frame someone, is a key to the case. Then there's the fuse box. The lights went out at exactly 6:30 p.m., just as the ad predicted. Coincidence? Poirot thinks not. He'd inspect the fuse box himself, noting signs of tampering a loose wire, a smudge of grease. Perhaps someone in the house knew the lights would go out, giving the shooter their moment in the dark. But who had the chance to mess with the fuses? Mitzi, the maid, is always bustling around, but she's too frantic to be subtle. Patrick, with his carefree charm, might have slipped away unnoticed. Or was it someone from outside, sneaking in before the guests arrived? Poirot would check the back door, looking for muddy footprints or a lock that's been jimmied. A single clue here could point to an insider or an intruder. Another detail catches Poirot's eye: the seating arrangement. When the lights went out, the guests were scattered around the drawing room, some standing, some sitting. Miss Blacklock was near the fireplace, Bunny was fussing with her knitting, and Philippa was by the window. But Poirot would notice something odd, say, a chair. That's been moved slightly out of place, as if someone needed a clear path to the door. Or perhaps a teacup left on the wrong table, suggesting someone wasn't where they claimed to be. These are the kinds of inconsistencies that make Poirot's mind hum. He'd ask each guest, "Where were you when the shot was fired there?" Answers, rehearsed or flustered, would reveal who's lying. Julia's quick wit might trip over a detail, or Colonel Easterbrook's rigid account might sound too perfect. Poirot knows that liars over-explain, and the truth is often in what's left unsaid. Let's talk about the gun itself. It's a standard revolver, nothing fancy. But Poirot would examine it closely. Are there fingerprints, smudges, or has it been wiped clean? A killer who thinks ahead would wear gloves, but a panicked amateur might forget. Poirot would also consider how the gun got there. Was it brought by the mysterious figure in the doorway, or was it already in the house? He'd ask Miss Blacklock if she owns a firearm, watching her reaction. If she says no, but a gun case in the attic is suspiciously empty, that's another crack in the story. And what about the bullet hole? Its position high on the wall perhaps doesn't match the chaos of a random shot. Was the shooter aiming at someone specific and missed, or was the shot meant to hit the wall, creating a spectacle? Poirot would measure angles, picturing the shooter's stance, and realize the truth lies in the trajectory. The suspect's behavior after the shot is another gold mine. Mitzi's hysterics seem over the top, but Poirot would wonder if she's exaggerating to hide her own involvement. She claims she saw the figure in the doorway, but her description is vague to vague. Is she protecting someone, or just scared? Meanwhile, Patrick and Julia are quick to joke about the prank, but their laughter feels forced. Poirot would note how they stick close together as if guarding each other's secrets. Philippa, on the other hand, is too quiet, her eyes fixed on the floor. Does she know something about the gun, or is she just shaken? And then there's Bunny, babbling about old times, dropping names like Randall Goedler. Poirot would latch onto that, sensing that her memories aren't random, they're clues to a motive tied to money or betrayal. Speaking of motives, Poirot would keep circling back to Randall Goedler, the wealthy financier who employed Letitia years ago. His fortune is a shadow over this case. Poirot would dig into who stands to inherit if something happens to Letitia. Is it Bunny, her loyal friend, or perhaps someone else, hiding in plain sight? He'd ask about Goedler's will, probing for names or connections. If Letitia is vague, Or if someone like Edmund Swettenham overhears and changes the subject, Poirot's suspicions would deepen. Money, he knows, is a powerful motive, but so is fear of a secret being exposed. What if someone in this room isn't who they claim to be? Christie loves to play with identity, and Poirot would be on high alert for forged papers, assumed names, or a face that doesn't match the story. Another inconsistency bugs Poirot: the timing of the ad. It was placed days before the event, meaning the killer planned this carefully. But why advertise a murder? To create chaos, to frame someone, or to make sure certain people were in the room? Poirot would think about who benefited from the crowd at Little Paddocks. The neighbours, Colonel Easterbrook, Mrs. Swettenham, and the rest came out of curiosity. But was one of them lured there for a reason? He'd also consider the figure in the doorway. Was it a stranger or someone familiar, disguised in the dark? The guests' conflicting accounts of that moment. Some saw a mask. Some saw nothing. Would frustrate Poirot, but he'd know the truth is in the contradictions. By now, Poirot's mind is a whirlwind of clues, but he's careful not to leap to conclusions. He'd gather the suspects, perhaps over tea, and ask seemingly casual questions. Mademoiselle Bunny, you mentioned an old friend, tell me more. Or to Patrick, you are so quick with a joke. Monsieur, but what did you see when the lights went out? Each answer adds a piece to the puzzle, and each lie makes the picture clearer. The killer, Poirot knows, is counting on the chaos to cover their tracks, but they've underestimated his attention to detail. A misplaced teacup, a smudged fuse, a bullet hole that doesn't add up. These are the threads he'll pull to unravel the plot. As Poirot sifts through these clues, we're right there with him, feeling the tension of a mystery where everyone's a suspect. Agatha Christie's genius is in making every detail matter, every inconsistency a hint. In the next chapter, we'll see Poirot turn up the heat, confronting the suspects with their own contradictions. Who's hiding a connection to Hercule Poirot? What secret is worth killing for? And how close is Poirot to catching the killer? Drop a comment below. Which clue do you think is the most important so far? Hit that like button and subscribe to keep peeling back the layers of this deadly plot. Hercule Poirot's investigation is gaining momentum, and a cozy facade of Little Paddocks is starting to crack. The gunshot, the mysterious ad, the tangled web of suspects. Every clue is pointing to a deeper, darker truth. Poirot's little grey cells are buzzing as he sifts through the inconsistencies: the tampered fuse box, the misplaced teacup, the bullet hole that doesn't quite fit. Now, he's ready to push the suspects harder, using his polite but piercing questions to expose their lies. In this chapter, we're watching Poirot turn up the heat, confronting the guests with their contradictions and watching their carefully crafted stories unravel. The killer is in this room, and Poirot knows that they're getting nervous, and one wrong word could give them away. Let's dive into the tense interrogations and see how Poirot starts to close in on the truth. Poirot gathers the suspects in the drawing room, his demeanour calm but his eyes sharp as a hawk's. He begins with Miss Letitia Blacklock, the composed hostess who's been at the centre of this drama. Madam, he says, his voice smooth as silk, this advertisement, it was placed to bring people to your home, yet you say you knew nothing of it. Curious, none? Letitia's smile is tight, her hands clasped a little too firmly. She insists. It's all a mystery to her. But Poirot notices a flicker of unease when he mentions Hercule Goedler, her old employer. He presses further, asking about her years working for the financier. Was there a will? An inheritance? Letitia's vague answers don't satisfy him. Poirot knows money is a powerful motive, and he suspects Letitia's connection to Goedler's. Fortune is key. Could someone want her out of the way to claim it? Or is Letitia herself hiding a financial secret? Next, Poirot turns to Dora Bunner or Bunny, whose nervous chatter fills the room? Mademoiselle Bunny, you speak often of the past, of school days with Madame Blacklock. Tell me, what do you remember of Randall Goedler? Bunny's eyes widen and she stammers, mentioning old friends and forgotten promises. Poirot listens carefully, noting how her stories jump from one detail to another, as if she's avoiding something. Her devotion to Letitia is clear, but is it loyalty or guilt? Poirot wonders if Bunny's scatterbrained act is a cover. Did she see something the night of the gunshot? Or does she know who placed the ad? Her fidgeting hands and quick glances at Letitia suggest she's holding back, and Poirot files that away for later. The younger suspects, Patrick and Julia Simmons, are next in Poirot's sights. Their carefree charm is starting to wear thin, and Poirot senses they're hiding something. He questions Patrick first. Monsieur, you were near the door when the lights went out. Were you not? What did you see? Patrick laughs, claiming he was too busy joking with Julia to notice anything. But Poirot catches a hesitation, a glance toward his sister. Julia, sharp as ever, jumps in with a witty deflection, but Poirot isn't fooled. He asks about their past, where they were before Chipping Cleghorn, why they came to stay with Letitia. Their answers are vague, and Poirot wonders if their cousin's status is as solid as they claim. Are they really family, or are they impostors, with a stake in Letitia's fortune? Their quick teamwork feels rehearsed, and Poirot's suspicions deepen. Philippa Hames, the quiet widow, is harder to crack. She answers Poirot's questions with short, careful words, her eyes fixed on the floor. Madam, you were by the window when the shot was fired. Did you see the figure in the doorway? Philippa claims she saw nothing, but her pale face tells a different story. Poirot probes into her past, her husband's death, her struggle to raise her son. Is her quiet demeanor a sign of grief, or is she hiding a connection to the crime? Poirot notices how she avoids mentioning Randall Goedler, even when he brings up Letitia's work. Could Philippa know something about the financier's will? Or is her fear tied to someone else in the room? Poirot's gentle questions make her squirm, and he knows she's a piece of the puzzle he hasn't quite placed. The neighbour's Colonel Easterbrook, Mrs. Swettenham, and a duo of Miss Hinchcliffe and Miss Murgatroyd are no less intriguing. The Colonel blusters about his military days, but Poirot catches a lie in his timeline. His war stories don't add up. Mrs. Swettenham's nosy questions about Letitia's finances raise Poirot's eyebrows. Is she just a gossip, or does she know something about Goedler's money? Hinchcliffe and Murgatroyd are blunt and loyal, but Poirot notices how protective Hinchcliffe is of her friend. Are they hiding a shared secret? And then there's Mitzi, the maid, whose dramatic outbursts are starting to feel like a performance. When Poirot asks about the fuse box, she claims she saw nothing, but her trembling hands suggest otherwise. Is she scared of the killer or of being caught? Poirot's questions are like a scalpel cutting through the suspect's defenses. He's not just looking for lies, he's watching for reactions, sweaty palms, darted glances, forced smiles. The killer, he knows, is feeling the pressure, the ad, the gunshot. The chaos, it was all part of a plan, but Poirot's poking holes in it. He's starting to see a pattern. The crime is tied to money, identity, and a secret from the past. But which suspect is at the center? Is it Letitia with her mysterious fortune, Patrick and Julia with their slippery alibis, or someone less obvious like Philippa or Mitzi in the next chapter? We'll see Poirot uncover a bombshell, a clue that changes everything. For now, he's tightening the screws and the killer is getting nervous. Let's move on to see what shakes loose. Poirot's investigation is closing in, and the suspects at Little Paddocks are starting to crack under his relentless scrutiny. Every question he asks, every glance he casts, is pushing someone closer to a mistake. The clue's the gun, the fuse box, The bullet hole are starting to tell a story, and Poirot is reading it like a master. But now, something unexpected happens, a revelation that turns the case on its head. In this chapter, we're diving into a bombshell clue that shifts Poirot's perspective and brings him closer to the truth. It's a moment that makes everyone in Chipping Cleghorn gasp, and it's about to blow the murder plot wide open. Let's see what Poirot uncovers and how it changes the game. It starts with a seemingly small detail. Something Poirot notices while sipping tea with the suspects. Let's say it's a photograph on the mantelpiece at Little Paddocks, a faded picture of Letitia and Bunny from their school days with another woman standing beside them. Poirot's eyes narrow. Madame Blacklock, he asks, who is this? Third person in the photograph. Letitia hesitates just for a moment before saying it's an old friend long gone. But Bunny, ever talkative, blurts out a name. Sonia Goedler, Randall Goedler's sister. The room goes quiet. Poirot's mustache twitches. This is no small detail. Sonia Goedler, he learns, was tied to Randall's fortune, and her name hasn't come up until now. Why? Is she still alive? And why does Letitia seem so uneasy about this photo? Poirot digs deeper, asking Bunny to tell him about Sonia. Bunny, flustered, says Sonia was a lively girl who married young and left England years ago. But her story falters. She can't remember where Sonia went or what happened to her. Poirot senses a lie, or at least a half-truth. He presses Letitia, who admits Sonia was connected to Randall's will. If Letitia dies, someone tied to Sonia might inherit a fortune. This is the bombshell. The crime isn't just about Letitia, it's about a legacy, a hidden heir, and a fortune that's been dangling out of reach. Poirot's mind races. Is someone in this room connected to Sonia? Or is someone pretending to be connected, hoping to claim the money? This revelation shifts Poirot's focus to identity. Agatha Christie loves to play with mistaken identities, and Poirot suspects someone at Little Paddocks isn't who they claim to be. He starts looking at the suspects with fresh eyes. Patrick and Julia, the cousins, are suddenly more suspicious. Are they really Letitia's relatives? Or could one of them be linked to Sonia Goedler? Julia's sharp intelligence and Patrick's vague past make Poirot wonder if they're playing a deeper game. Then there's Philippa Hames, the widow who keeps to herself. Her quiet demeanor could hide a secret identity. Could she be Sonia's daughter? Or someone else tied to the Goedler fortune? Even Bunny's rambling stories take on new meaning. Does she know more about Sonia than she's letting on? Or is she just confused? Poirot also considers the physical evidence in light of this new clue. The ad in the Gazette was it placed to draw out someone connected to Sonia. The gunshot, could it have been a warning to keep a secret hidden? He revisits the crime scene in his mind, thinking about the bullet hole's odd position. Was it meant to scare Letitia or someone else? He also thinks about Mitzi, who's been screaming about danger since the night of the crime. Does she know about Sonia's connection to the house? Her fear seems real, but Poirot wonders if she's hiding a link to the past. The neighbours Colonel Easterbrook, Mrs. Swettenham, Hinchcliffe, and Murgatroyd could also be involved. Did one of them know Sonia Goedler, or are they after the same fortune? The bombshell about Sonia Goedler's connection to the will sends ripples through the investigation. Poirot starts asking pointed questions, watching for reactions. To Patrick, you have heard of this Sonia, oui? To Philippa, Madam, you have never met a woman named Goedler. Each answer tightens. The net. Someone in this room, he's sure, is tied to the Goedler fortune, and the ad was meant to flush them out or silence them. The killer's plan is starting to crumble, but they're still dangerous. Poirot knows he's close, but he needs one more piece to crack the case. The tension in Little Paddocks is palpable now. The suspects are eyeing each other, wondering who knows what. Poirot's comic exterior hides a mind racing with possibilities. In the next chapter, we'll see him set a trap, using his cleverness to bait the killer into a mistake. What will Poirot do to catch them off guard, and will the killer take the bait? Drop a comment below. Who do you think is connected to Sonia Goedler? Hit that like button and subscribe to keep unraveling this mystery with us. The atmosphere at Little Paddocks is electric with tension. Hercule Poirot's investigation has shaken the suspects, and the bombshell about Sonia Goedler's connection to Randall's fortune has turned every glance into a question mark. The ad, the gunshot, the secrets, they're all pointing to a killer who's hiding in plain sight, and Poirot is closer than ever to unmasking them. But he's not one to rush. Instead, he's planning something clever, a trap to catch the culprit off guard. In this chapter, we're watching Poirot use his cunning to bait the killer, setting a stage where one false move could reveal everything. The stakes are higher now, and the murderer is feeling the heat. Let's see how Poirot plays his game, and what happens when the trap is sprung. Poirot knows the killer is clever, but even the cleverest criminals make mistakes when pressured. His plan is simple but brilliant. Create a situation where the murderer feels safe enough to slip. Up he gathers the suspects again, this time in the dining room of Little Paddocks, under the pretense of clarifying their statements. The setting is deliberate, formal, enclosed, with everyone seated around a polished table, their faces lit by the soft glow of a chandelier. Poirot's voice is calm, almost soothing. As he begins, Ms. Amiss, we are close to the truth. The advertisement, the gunshot, it was all part of a plan, but not a plan to kill. Not yet. He pauses, letting the words sink in, watching for a flinch, a nervous twitch. The killer, he knows, is listening, wondering how much he's figured out. Poirot's trap hinges on the Goedler fortune. He drops a carefully crafted hint. I have learned something most interesting about Randall Goedler's will. There is an heir, someone who stands to gain everything if certain conditions are met. He doesn't say who, but he watches the room closely. Letitia Blacklock's hand tightens on her napkin. Patrick Simmons shifts in his chair, his usual grin faltering. Philippa Hames stares at her plate, her knuckles white. Even Mitzi, serving tea, nearly drops a cup. Poirot's hint is vague enough to sound convincing, but sharp enough to sting. He's betting the killer will react, either by saying too much or doing something desperate to protect their secret. To make the trap tighter, Poirot brings up the photograph from the mantelpiece, the one with Letitia, Bunny, and Sonia Goedler. This Sonia, he says, holding up the faded picture, she is most important, none? Someone in this room knows her, or knows of her. He lets the silence stretch, his eyes moving from face to face. Bunny starts to ramble, saying Sonia was such a dear girl, but cuts herself off when Letitia shoots her a look. Julius Simmons tries to change the subject with a clever quip, but Poirot gently steers her back. Mademoiselle, you are quick with words. But what do you know of this fortune? Julia's smile falters and Poirot notes it. He's planting seeds of doubt, making the suspects question each other, hoping the killer will panic. Poirot also revisits the physical clues, weaving them into his trap. He mentions the fuse box, saying, the lights went out at precisely the right moment. Someone knew the house well, perhaps someone who lives here. His gaze lingers on Mitzi, who gasps and protests, but also on Patrick, who's suddenly very interested in his teacup. Then he talks about the gun, a simple revolver, But where did it come from? Perhaps it was hidden in this very house. This is a bluff. Poirot doesn't know where the gun came from, but he wants to see. Who reacts? Colonel Easterbrook, ever the military man, bristles at the suggestion he might know about weapons, while Miss Hinchcliffe mutters something about careless fools. Every reaction is a clue, and Poirot is collecting them all. The trap's real genius is how it plays on the killer's fear of exposure. Poirot announces he's expecting a visitor, someone who knew Sonia Goedler and can confirm details about the will. It's another bluff, but it's enough to make the room tense. Mrs. Swettenham, usually nosy, goes quiet. Edmund Hassan starts, fidgeting with his pen. Even the loyal Miss Murgatroyd looks nervous, clinging to Hinchcliffe's arm. Poirot knows the killer is wondering, who is this visitor? Do they know my secret? He's counting on them to act. Maybe they'll try to flee, or confront someone, or slip up in their story. To keep the pressure on, he adds, the police. They are close to finding the one who placed the advertisement. A name, a clue. It is only a matter of time. As the evening unfolds, Poirot watches for the smallest signs. He notices how Patrick and Julia whisper to each other when they think no one's looking. He sees Philippa slip out to the garden. Oldest chat, monsieur, perhaps you wish to tell me about Sonia Goedler? Her quick exit feels odd. Does she know something? Mitzi, meanwhile, is muttering about leaving Chipping Cleghorn, her bags half-packed. Poirot's trap is working. The suspects are rattled and someone's bound to make a mistake. Letitia, trying to keep control, offers to host another gathering to clear the air. But Poirot senses she's steering the conversation away from Sonia. Is she protecting herself or someone else? The beauty of Poirot's trap is how it turns the suspects against each other. They're not just worried about him, they're starting to suspect one another. Christie's genius is in crafting a mystery where trust is fragile, and Poirot is exploiting that. By suggesting an heir to the Goedler fortune is in play, he's made everyone question who's who. Is Patrick really a cousin or an impostor? Does Philippa's quiet demeanor hide a claim to the fortune? And what about Bunny's nervous chatter? Does she know more about Sonia than she's letting on? Poirot's bluff about the visitor is the final push designed to make the killer act rashly. Will they try to silence someone or reveal themselves in a moment of panic? The trap is set, and the net is tightening. In the next chapter, we'll see the fallout. Someone makes a move that tips their hand, and Poirot pounces. What will the killer do to cover their tracks? And how will Poirot turn their mistake into the key to solving the case? Drop a comment below. Who do you think is about to crack under Poirot's pressure? Hit that like button and subscribe to keep unraveling this deadly plot with us. Hercule Poirot's trap is working its magic, and the suspects at Little Paddocks are unraveling under the pressure. His clever hints about Sonia Goedler's connection to the fortune, the mysterious visitor, and the tampered clues have pushed the killer to the edge. The dining room, once a place of polite chatter, is now a pressure cooker of suspicion, with every guest eyeing the others, wondering who's hiding the truth. Poirot, with his calm demeanor and piercing gaze, is waiting for the inevitable, a mistake. In this chapter, we're diving into the moment when the killer slips up, giving Poirot the opening he needs to close in on the truth. The murder plot is teetering, and one wrong move could bring it crashing down. Let's see how the killer's mistake changes everything and brings Poirot one step closer to solving the mystery. The evening after Poirot's carefully staged gathering, the tension in Chipping Cleghorn is palpable. The suspects are on edge, their nerves frayed by Poirot's probing questions and that ominous talk of a visitor. Who might know about Sonia Goedler? Poirot, ever observant, spends the day quietly watching, his little grey cells humming as he tracks the suspect's movements. He knows the killer is feeling cornered, and a cornered criminal is prone to errors. Sure enough, someone makes a move that catches his attention, a move so subtle it might have gone unnoticed by anyone else, but not by Poirot. Let's set the scene. It's the next morning, and Poirot is strolling through the garden at Little Paddocks, ostensibly admiring the roses but really keeping an eye on the house. He notices Mitzi, the jittery maid, hurrying out the back door with a small bundle under her arm. She's muttering to herself, her eyes darting around as if she's afraid of being followed. Poirot follows at a distance, his steps silent. Mitzi heads to a shed at the edge of the property and slips inside. Curious, Poirot waits, then peeks through a crack in the door. Mitzi is hiding something, a small box, tucked under a pile of gardening tools. Poirot's mustache twitches. Why is Mitzi, who's been screaming about danger, hiding something now? Is she the killer, or is she covering for someone else? Poirot doesn't confront her, yet he wants to see what she does next. Back in the house, another slip catches Poirot's eye. Patrick Simmons, the charming cousin, is unusually quiet, his usual jokes replaced by a nervous energy. Poirot overhears him whispering to Julia in the hallway, something about needing to check something. Julia hisses back, "Not now, you idiot." Poirot pretends to be engrossed in a book, but he's all ears. Later, he notices Patrick slipping into Letitia's study, where he rifles through a desk drawer. Poirot, who's accidentally passing by, asks, "Monsieur, you are looking for something, oui?" Patrick jumps, claiming he was just fetching a pen, but his flushed face tells a different story. Poirot wonders, is Patrick searching for papers tied to the Goedler will? Or is he trying to destroy evidence? Then there's Philippa Hames, the reserved widow, who's been avoiding everyone since Poirot's trap. She's spotted in the village, posting a letter at the post office. Poirot, who's conveniently nearby, notes the address on the envelope. It's to a lawyer in London. Why is Philippa writing to a lawyer now? Is she seeking advice about the Goedler fortune, or is she trying to cover her tracks? Poirot's mind races. Philippa's quiet nature makes her easy to overlook, but her actions are starting to scream suspicion. Could she be Sonia Goedler's heir, or someone pretending to be? Her letter is a clue, and Poirot makes a mental note to find out more. The biggest mistake, though, comes from an unexpected source. Bunny, the scatterbrained Dora Bunner. During afternoon tea, she's rambling as usual, but this time she lets slip a detail that stops Poirot in his tracks. "Oh, Letty," she says to Miss Blacklock, "remember how we used to laugh about Sonia's silly disguises?" The room freezes, Letitia's face goes pale, and she quickly shushes Bunny, but it's too late. Poirot pounces, his voice gentle but firm. "Mademoiselle Bunny, what disguises do you speak of?" Bunny, flustered, tries to backtrack, saying it was just a schoolgirl joke. But Poirot's not buying it. Disguises, the word echoes in his mind. In a Christie mystery, identity is everything, and Bunny's slip suggests someone might be playing a role, someone like Letitia, or even Bunny herself. Poirot starts connecting the dots. Mitzi's hidden box, Patrick's sneaky search, Philippa's letter. Bunny's comment about disguises, they're all threads in the same tapestry. The killer's plan relied on chaos and misdirection, but their actions are betraying them. Poirot suspects the ad in the Gazette was meant to draw attention to Little Paddocks. But for what purpose? To expose an imposter? To scare someone into revealing a secret? Or to set the stage for a murder that hasn't happened yet? The Goedler fortune is at the heart of it, and Poirot's convinced someone in this house is either claiming it or blocking someone else from getting it. To test his theory, Poirot decides to push harder. He casually mentions to the group that he's contacted the lawyer handling Randall Goedler's estate. It's another bluff, but it works. Letitia's composure slips. She knocks over her teacup, a rare moment of clumsiness. Julia snaps at Patrick to stop fidgeting, and even Colonel Easterbrook, usually so controlled, starts rambling about unrelated war stories. The killer is rattled, and Poirot knows it. He's watching for the next mistake, a late night meeting, a burned letter, a panicked confession. The net is tightening. and the killer's careful facade is crumbling. What makes this moment so thrilling is how Agatha Christie builds the suspense. Every suspect is a potential culprit, and every clue could be a red herring. Poirot's genius is in seeing through the noise, spotting the one detail that doesn't fit. Mitzi's box, Patrick's search, Bunny's slip, they're all pointing to a truth about identity and greed. Is Letitia really who she says she is? Are Patrick and Julia hiding their true connection to the Goedler fortune? Or is someone like Philippa or Mitzi playing a long game? Poirot's close, but he needs one final piece to solve the puzzle. In the next chapter, we'll reach the climax. Poirot gathers the suspects for a dramatic showdown, revealing the truth behind the murder. Plot: who's the killer, and how did they plan to get away with it? Will Poirot's deductions unmask them before they strike again? Drop a comment below. Who do you think made the biggest mistake? Hit that like button and subscribe to catch the thrilling finale of this mystery. The tension at Little Paddocks has reached a breaking point. Hercule Poirot's trap has worked, and the killer's mistakes, Mitzi's hidden box, Patrick's sneaky search, Bunny's careless slip about disguises have given him the pieces he needs to solve the puzzle. The mysterious ad, the gunshot, the secrets tied to Randall Goedler's fortune, it's all coming together in Poirot's brilliant mind. Now, he's ready for the grand finale, a dramatic showdown to unmask the murderer. In this final chapter, we're joining Poirot as he gathers the suspects one last time, laying out the truth in his theatrical style. The killer is cornered, the plot is unraveling, and Chipping Cleghorn will never be the same. Let's dive into the climactic moment where Poirot reveals how he foiled the murder plot, without spoiling the killer's identity just yet, so you can keep guessing until the very end. Poirot chooses the drawing room of Little Paddocks for his big reveal, the same room where the gunshot rang out that fateful night. The suspects are seated in a tense circle, their faces a mix of fear, suspicion, and forced calm. Letitia Blacklock sits at the head, her composure strained but intact. Bunny fidgets with her knitting, her eyes darting nervously. Patrick and Julia Simmons exchange wary glances, their usual charm replaced by unease. Philippa Haynes is silent, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. Colonel Easterbrook puffs out his chest, trying to look unbothered, while his wife, Laura, twists a handkerchief. Miss Hinchcliffe and Miss Murgatroyd sit close, their loyalty palpable, and Mitzi hovers near the door, ready to bolt. Poirot stands in the center, his small frame commanding the room, his mustache perfectly groomed as he prepares to lay bare the truth. As Amos, Poirot begins, his voice steady but laced with drama. The crime we have witnessed was no accident. The advertisement, the gunshot, the chaos, it was a plan most ingenious but not without flaws. He pauses, letting the weight of his words settle. He starts with the ad in the Chipping Cleghorn Gazette, the spark that set everything in motion. This announcement, he says, holding up a copy of the paper, was not a prank. It was a law, designed to bring you all here, to this very room, at the precise moment the lights would fail. He explains how the fuse box was tampered with, ensuring darkness at 6:30 p.m. The killer, he says, needed that moment of confusion to act. But why? Poirot's eyes scan the room, watching for a reaction. He moves to the gunshot, the heart of the mystery. The revolver, he says, gesturing to an imaginary spot on the floor, was not fired at random. The bullet hole, it tells a story. It was not meant to kill, not yet, but to create fear, to distract. Poirot reveals how the bullet's trajectory didn't match the chaos described by the guests. Someone knew exactly where to aim, someone familiar with the room's layout. He notes the gun's placement, dropped near the doorway, as if the shooter wanted it found. This was no outsider, he declares, but someone among us, someone who knew Little Paddocks well. The suspects shift uncomfortably, avoiding his gaze. Poirot then weaves in the bombshell about Sonia Goedler. The fortune of Randall Goedler, he says, is the key, a legacy, an heir, a secret worth killing for. He recounts bunnies. Slip about Sonia's disguises, a clue that pointed to identity as the heart of the crime. Someone in this room, he suggests, is tied to that fortune, either claiming it or blocking someone else from it. He mentions the photograph, the whispers, of Sonia's past and the will that promises wealth to an heir. But who is this heir? He asks, his voice rising, and who would kill to keep the truth hidden? Letitia's face is a mask, but her eyes betray a flicker of fear. Patrick's hand twitches, and Philippa's breathing quickens. Now, Poirot addresses the killer's mistakes. You were clever, he says, turning to the group. But not clever enough. He reveals Mitzi's hidden box, which contained a letter, nothing incriminating, but proof she was snooping. He mentions Patrick's search in the study, suggesting he was looking for documents tied to the Goedler will. He points to Philippa's letter to a lawyer, a sign she knows more about the fortune than she admits, and Bunny's comment about disguises. It wasn't just a ramble, it was a clue to a deception that's been hiding in plain sight. Poirot's voice grows sharper. The killer thought they could manipulate us all, but they forgot one thing, the little grey cells of Hercule. Poirot, without naming the killer, because where's the fun in spoiling it? Poirot lays out the motive, greed, tangled with a secret identity. The ad was meant to flush out the air or scare someone into silence. The gunshot was a warning, a step in a larger plan that didn't end that night. Poirot explains how the killer used the chaos to cover their tracks, but their mistakes, those small, careless slips betrayed them. He points to the inconsistencies in their stories, the objects out of place, the reactions that didn't fit. The truth, he says, is in the details. And the details, they do not lie. The room is silent as Poirot builds to his climax. He turns to the group, his eyes locking onto each suspect. The killer is here among us, he says, and they know their time is up. He pauses, letting the tension hang, then delivers his final blow, a detail so specific, so undeniable that it pins the crime to one person. Maybe it's a fingerprint, a contradiction in an alibi, or a piece of evidence tied to Sonia Goedler's past. The suspects gasp, some protest, but one face betrays guilt, a look Poirot has been waiting for. The trap has sprung, and the murder plot is foiled. Poirot's triumph is pure Agatha Christie, a blend of logic, psychology, and theatrics. He's unraveled the web of lies, exposed the killer's plan, and saved Little Paddocks from further harm. The case is closed, but the impact lingers. Chipping Cleghorn will never forget the night a murder was announced. As Poirot bows slightly, his work done, he leaves us with a reminder: no secret can hide from the truth forever. That's the end of our journey through a murder is announced. If you loved unraveling this mystery with us, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into Agatha Christie's world. Drop a comment below. Who did you suspect was the killer? Did Poirot's final reveal surprise you? And if you want more thrilling mysteries or have a favorite Christie story you'd like us to cover, let us know. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.